This is part 3 of section 3.2. We want to continue writing each compound statement using the symbols that we were learning in this section. This time we have 3 statements. P is the temperature outside is freezing. Q, the heater is working. R, the house is cold. Okay, remember that commas are going to be important. The temperature outside is freezing and the heater is working, or the house is cold. We have that comma right there. Okay. The temperature outside is freezing. That would be P. And the heater is working. That's Q. And then we have a comma, so I'm going to put these in parentheses. Or the house is cold. That would be R. So this English statement would translate to P and Q in parentheses or R. If the temperature outside is freezing, comma, then the heater is working or the house is not cold. Okay? If the temperature outside is freezing, that's P. So if P, then this part is set off by a comma, so whatever comes here is going to go in parentheses. The heater is working, that is Q. Or the house is not cold, that would be not R. So this English statement translates to this in our symbols. The house is cold if and only if the temperature outside is freezing and the heater isn't working. Here we have our comma right here, and it sets off what's going to be in parentheses. The house is cold. The house is cold, that's R. If and only if, double arrow. The temperature outside is freezing, which is P, and these are going to go in parentheses because they're set off by a comma. The temperature outside is freezing and the heater isn't working, that would be not Q. If the heater is working, then the temperature outside is freezing if and only if the house is cold. Comma right there. Okay. If the heater is working, that would be if Q, then we're going to have parentheses. The temperature outside is freezing, that's P. If and only if the house is cold. So that would be R. Now, you might be wondering why I didn't put the parentheses around these two when I had a double arrow right there. And it has everything to do with the fact that this comma told us that this part should be done first. So it just gives us a little bit more information. Okay. And then our last bit, if I can turn the page, is simply to add grouping symbols. Okay. What I suggest doing is taking this and writing it big with a lot of space in it, and then you can rewrite it looking nice. So I'm just going to rewrite this with a lot of space in here to add symbols. Okay. Now what I know is that this is my most dominant connective. So whatever's on either side of it needs to go in parentheses together. So I'm going to put parentheses here. Now if you look in here, I have 3 things. You can use parentheses, but I'm also going to have to separate this out and figure out which of these 3 things I need to do first. And usually when you end up, that would mean we're going to have parentheses inside parentheses. And usually we put the larger parentheses, the ones on the outside, as brackets so that they're easier to pair up. You can use parentheses, they mean the same thing. It's just normally you're going to see brackets when you have multiple things. Now look inside here. What is dominant? The conditional, not the or. So that means this side goes together and then this side goes together. And this is what I mean. If you have parentheses inside parentheses inside parentheses, the more complicated it gets harder and harder to figure out which set of parentheses go together, and it can really confuse you. So making this look a little bit better, it would look like that. Okay, let's do this one. P and Q. If then, are, if and only if, P or R. Okay, again, I see this biconditional, so I'm going to group this side together and this whole side together. And again, since I have three things with multiple connectives, I'm going to use brackets first. Now look inside here. I have this conditional, which means I group each side together. So this part gets grouped together, and that's simply R. So written a little bit more nicely. Okay, and then this last one. Okay, so I look for my dominant connective, which is this biconditional. So I'm going to group these two together and then these three together. So this is already as simple as it's going to get. And here we have a conditional, which means each side gets grouped together. So these two go together, and then that's simply not P. So I have if P, then P. If P, then P. If and only if P and P goes to not P. And that is the end of section 3.2.